Okay, so this is a game from Title Tuesday played on March 19, 2024. It's interesting because black is practically the player that won the tournament, and I came to know this game as well as the others because Grandmaster Kramnik is exposing possible cheaters on Title Tuesday, and so I watch the games of the winner. I honestly think it's really interesting to watch these games because we can learn a lot. And Here, I didn't realize in the beginning that white was the winner. I thought black would be the winner. And so it was kind of exciting to see all the game with this mindset because I was watching the game from the black side. Okay, the fourth thing that we notice here is that the engine defines this opening as the King's Indian attack, Yugoslav variation. That's kind of interesting for me because generally you would have d3, e4. Here I don't really see it. Let's see when it happens, okay? And then there is another thing that is interesting. Watch this. Takes with the e-pawn. Would you have played this move, take with the e-pawn? Because at a certain point you need then to move that pawn in order to give that bishop in g2 some way out. But when you move a pawn, then you're blocking the bishop on c1. So it's kind of interesting, all these kind of reasonings that we can do about the opening just from a blitz game between two title players that obviously are great because Grandmaster Pranav, from what I saw, he has played more than 22,000 games on chess.com, and Grandmaster KPIO91 played about 5,500. So they clearly played a lot of games, they are trained a lot, probably. So that's kind of interesting, okay? And here we go. Watch here. So with this move, white has blocked the bishop c1. But this is telling us, in a sense, that two things. One is where the bishop c1 is going. At this point, I think he wants to develop it on the b2 diagonal, but maybe it's not happening. So he will have to play like bishop d c1, d2, and c3. In any case, a lot of moves because that pawn has blocked everything. But the second thing that tells me is about the outpost. Now white has an outpost on e5, which means that he wants to play knight b1, d2, f3, e5, or something like that, I think. So it's interesting to see how it will go, how it will actually happen, okay? And imagine, I'm doing all these reasonings, and unfortunately it's already 3 minutes of video, but these people played an entire game in 6 minutes, so it's crazy, right? To think that we can learn so much from this game, and here we see it, yes, he made that kind of strategic maneuver. That's kind of interesting in my opinion. And also interesting here, no? What is black doing? Black wants to counter-attack on the queen side, so push that pawn. Interesting. What I found really interesting is to what Vien. Now, watch here, because this is a very interesting point, in my opinion. Obviously now white is taking control or occupying the outpost, but black wants to remove that. So how do you do that? What is the maneuver that you should play in order to have that done successfully? It seems that knight f8 wasn't the right move. The right move, the best move for the engine, and obviously I don't know if the engine is right, because this kind of review are very fast. I don't understand how an engine can review the game in just like 10-15 seconds and be more correct than these two grandmasters. In any case, it seems that the best move was this knight b8, and here it shows us the moves, so that's kind of interesting. As you can see, he's attacking e5. He's attacking e5, so he wants to take control of that e5 at all costs. In any case, I thought it was interesting, and now we can move on. And also, it's interesting because, as you can see, the score given to the move played by black 0.69 against this move 0.34, honestly it's kind of ridiculous. A human being is not able obviously to have that kind of calculation of an advantage, but this is what he was doing. So he made space for the knight on f6 to go on d7 because he wants to free also the pawn f7 to fight for that square. So that's kind of a very interesting take, right? Tak. Obviously, he had to remove the knight because he was going to lose that square. And now he plays this. But it was the reason for which he played knight d7. Yet, it says this is an inaccuracy, it's not the right move. The best move is knight e7, and here it shows us the moves of why knight e7 is good. Notice that this kind of pawn formation will be happening in the game later. A similar pawn formation, let's say. And notice also how we block with h5, it took kind of control of g4. So that was interesting in my opinion. Again, the score for these two things are totally irrelevant, I think, for a human being. So let's go back. He played the knight e3, which is also an inaccuracy. There was something better, but I don't care. I just want to move on because I want to show. And here we go. Yeah, with similar pawn structure to what we have seen. c5 and d4. Obviously, that knight c2 is going to help to attack maybe with a possible b2, b4. And this is not the right move. What would you think would have been the right move? Here it says that the right move to play would have been rook takes e5 instead of knight takes e5. Okay. Also, this is not the right idea. It says, okay, well. And this is also another inaccuracy. Probably the reason is that once you play f4, g4 is actually gone. It cannot be used anymore, it cannot be controlled anymore. Black probably is able to control it, so I believe that could be the reason. Yeah, as we can see. And this bishop move is kind of interesting, because in a sense he attacks g4, but it's not only that, it creates space for the king to move if needed. It does a lot of things. Here we can see how these two title players prepare sometimes the attack. In this case, rook b1, he means to play b4, but he doesn't do it up to the moment he cannot create a strong attack on b4 which will be successful. So this is preparation. Obviously is going to support c5. And also this is interesting that here it took back with a pawn, okay? Um, in a sense because it created a isolated pawn, but also the support of d4, it's probably stronger in this way. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. This taking control of the 7th rank, kind of good. How does black fight against it? Probably can't, because this is a good move, but this is the wrong move. What would you have played instead of rook b2? It seems there is a move that is not easy to find, and the right move is rook e6. Rook e6 in this situation is the right move to play because it keeps control of a rank, practically the 7th rank. In fact, we can see it here. It shows the variation. Okay. In this case, it says that there is no advantage for black with this variation, while with rook b2 it was a little better for black. Again, I don't think that a human would be able to justify it in that fashion. We would only be able to justify it with the idea that we have been taught that the rook on the 7th it's better, not because we know, like the engine does. And also this is an inaccuracy. Who knows why? Again, another inaccuracy. Notice that at this point both players have like 20 seconds on the clock, so they are obviously going really fast. And I will go fast too, because here we go. For example, here we are at a point in which black could actually give some big troubles. Okay? And now they have like 10 seconds on the clock, okay? So obviously there are some mistakes from both sides. So this is a great move, notice. And now there is this mistake. Now this is an inaccuracy, okay. This is a mistake, miss. And this is a big blunder. Now, can you see why it's a big blunder? Now, the question here is the fun part of chess, in my opinion, because as human beings, now they have 2 seconds on the clock, one guy, the other has 3 seconds. If black found the right move, he would have won the game. He didn't find the right move. That's terrible. That's terrible. And obviously, it must have been a very hard game for both of them because they found a lot of interesting ideas on how to open the position, how to attack the other. But I mean, he didn't see a checkmate in one. He didn't see a checkmate in one. And this is a grandmaster that has played more than 22,000 games online. Obviously, to reach grandmaster level, he must have played endless title tournaments and so on, and yet he cannot see a checkmate in one. So that's the incredible things I find here, but not because I'm trying to diminish. It's just the fact that human condition, this human condition that is terrible, we don't see nothing. And this is one of the best guy in the world, obviously, because the reality is, I don't know what is his rating, maybe it's not even in the first 100, I don't care. But I know that he dedicated his life to chess. So, and he reached this title that is very difficult to reach, Grandmaster, and yet in a blitz game is not able to see a checkmate in one. So that's the crazy thing that I found in this game, and that's why I made a video, because it's the most interesting part. Okay, so obviously the checkmating one was knight g4, and he played queen h2. Now, I'm not saying that I would have done the same, or it doesn't matter. What I mean, again, is that the best of us, young guy, dedicated his life to chess, still cannot see a checkmating one. It's terrible. It's terrible. It's like that phrase, the blind who leads the blind. In any case, obviously, the game is soon over, because knight g4 now at this point is a mistake. Not that red, but obviously they have like 2 seconds on the clock. I don't know how they were playing. Probably they were playing with pre-moves, because look how many moves they are playing. So it's crazy, right? Tac, tac. And here the game is over. And it seems that White had a rating as a performance of 2850, while Black had a performance of 2750, which, by the way, it's obviously a dream for every chess player, no? Like every amateur would love to have this kind of rating as a performance. So I don't know. I think at this point that probably Black maybe lost for time. After all, this is online. Maybe if there is some net lag, the net lag can do that kind of thing. Thank you for watching, and share your thoughts about this great game.